Is everybody sad? Are you leaving soon? Okay. So it's the final talk, and seems like everybody's packed their cars and ready to go home. So who's first timers doing the retreat? Hands up. Oh, okay. It's quite a few. Yeah. So I remember when I first did my retreat all the way in Safety Bay, and with Ajahn Santutthi. Apparently she's quite sick at the moment. She's in ICU, but she's been serving a long time for the Perth Buddhist community, like giving teachings and stuff like that. So I remember one of the requirements was to go and attend a retreat before you can go stay in a monastery. So I went to hers, and can't really remember much. I remember the beach. I remember a skull. She brought like a skull to the meditation retreat to teach us about like the body contemplation and how it's just like 4 elements, blah, 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 don't be attached to it. And so it was just like a 2-day retreat. And it's like, you're wondering, what am I going to get out of it kind of thing. And the one thing I remember was the senses like sights, sounds and tastes, even though you may not have seen the benefits in the meditation retreat itself, but as soon as you go out, it's just a little bit heightened. Yeah. So I remember I had to go to a petrol station, and probably the food wasn't that good at the retreat, so I bought a bag of chips. and then I was like eating the chips, and I was like, oh, these chips taste pretty good. But then they didn't taste like how they used to taste like before. And I was just wondering, oh, what is going on? And I was thinking, yeah, maybe it could be the meditation, like just things just change a little bit. So, as soon as you leave the gates, driving in your car, then just be aware of the few changes that may have occurred. And I think one of the things that a lot of the teachers say is like when you're driving on the road, just be careful because you've just been on meditation retreat, your reactions might not be as sharp as they used to be because it's a bit, slowed down or something like that. So, anyways, so hopefully you got something from this retreat. And just earlier on, like I was going to answer the question about forgiveness, and just having time to think about it and trying to convey my thoughts into words, and just having some examples in my life where people have shown forgiveness. And I was just thinking about it, and forgiveness in a sense is one of the reasons why you apply it in life, is because you want harmony between the group or between the friendship or between the people that you know. You're able to, even though you may get mad at something that they do, but you can forgive them for it because harmony and friendship is far more important. So whatever they've done, you can learn how to let it go. Whether it's like there's always silly things that you can forgive people over, like if somebody's doing a bit of work and they knock over the paint, the tin of paint. That can get really maddening, right? And then you might get a little bit aggro about it, but what does that do to the relationship? Over a tin of paint. So yes, if you do get mad, then that person might learn a lesson and may not do that again. Yeah, you got something out of it. But on reflection, when you get mad at other people, does that make yourself feel good? So part of like forgiveness is also allowing to help yourself let go of the guilt that you feel for being mad at somebody. You carry this like you just carry like this burden around. Like even in Bodhinyana Monastery, when just we upstairs with Ajahn Brahm and all the other monks, and sometimes we just get carried away with joking with one another. And if you live with Ajahn Brahm long enough, he likes to like poke you, he'll start teasing you, He told me that I look like Kim Jong-un once. Crikey! Better be careful, guys. I can press the button. Oh, sorry. No, I wouldn't do that. But so he'll say stuff like that. But then he's like, he knows that he's joking around. He knows it's only for fun and games, just to lighten up the mood. But for some reason, it sort of made him feel kind of bad about it. Sometimes. And then Ajahn Brahm will he thinks about it. He doesn't just say stuff and forget about it and be kind of heartless or something like that. He thinks about it. And he thinks about it. He thinks, am I wrong or am I right? And I think it doesn't really matter how the other person feels, because maybe the other person does feel that, hey, it's not such a big deal. Ajahn Brahm's joking around. And I think in my case, it wasn't the comment about Kim Jong-un, but it was something else. And I completely just let go of it. It wasn't a problem at all. And then he just came up to me afterwards and just apologized for what he had said. And it's like, did he really... It's like, he did it for me to make sure everything was okay. But then he also did it for himself to make sure that the person's not upset, or that there's harmony, the harmony is still there. So yes, it's like forgiveness is about allowing other people to make their mistakes, but also sort of allows you to let go of the concerns or the guilt that you may feel because you got upset or mad about somebody. But then it's sort of like there's different levels of forgiveness and giving people chances. It's not just like everyday things like teasing somebody or something like that. It could be like more serious stuff. And like, being married for a long time and having a breakup and then don't know if you can trust that person or not. That kind of thing. Being able to forgive people and to be able to let them back into your lives. I think, I don't know much about it, but just from experience and just seeing examples in my life, it is possible to be able to forgive people and, in a sense, learn how to rebuild that trust. It may not happen straight away, but it just takes a little while. So I think forgiveness has many, many different levels. You help somebody out for many, many years and they just don't want your help anymore after a while. And it's like, what you suffer from it because in a sense it's sort of like discarded you from your life. But then you go away and then you think about the person and then you just sort of reconnect and try to understand what was actually going on in that person's mind. And yes, sometimes maybe the forgiveness process may take a while, but I think if you can just reconnect with the people that you want to give a chance to, talk to them, and you just got to feel it out and just use your judgment, use your own wisdom to see whether you can fully forgive this person to be able to work with them again. So it's also like a nice idea, forgiveness, but at the same time I always think you have to be able to be wise and protect yourself from situations or people that you think may hurt you again. You could say there is wise forgiveness and there's dumb forgiveness. You know, and yeah, I think there is. So you can start, like you can forgive a person that's done something to you, but then they end up doing the same thing. They end up hurting you, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of like dumb forgiveness. You don't want to do any of that. So you should be wise and be patient. So someone asked me, sort of, what should I do? Because I had to make a choice. And I said, just give yourself 2 years to make that choice. So sometimes like just making a choice, you know, like an important one. You don't have to make it straight away. You can just think about it. Just weigh out the pros and cons and then make your choice. But anyways, so yes, the retreat's coming to an end. Hopefully, you got something from it, and today is like tomorrow, and tomorrow is like another day. We wake up in the morning, we go to bed at night. We always take our minds with us wherever we go. We see things, we hear things, we breathe. We have an opportunity every moment to just reflect on the practice. It's just one of those things, like if we have the reminders, if you had a monk sitting on your shoulder every day, you'd probably end up being a more mindful person. If I had Ajahn Brahm sitting on my shoulder every day, I'd probably be enlightened by now. But every day, every moment, if you can bring like just remembering what you've learned here or what you learnt, from the other teachers, just to remember those little things, like to be mindful. You can do that any time of the day. You can do it in the morning, like brushing your teeth, in the afternoon. And it is true, we do get caught up and we do forget just the essentials of trying to create a more of a stable and grounded life. So just those little reminders, like you can tell yourself throughout the day. Maybe just put it on your phone. We check our phones all the time. You can put reminders on the phone, right? It's like every half an hour, it's time to be in the present moment. Just like having an Ajahn Brahm on your shoulder. And those little skillful, and it's just taking an example from my life is, so when I was really busy working over in on Stocker Road, just renovating the horse stables, the mind will always be just like jumping off into the future and just making plans of what I need to buy and what I have to do next. And there's just like a lot of things going on, and to a point where I remember just driving in the car with Rob, who was the Anagarika, now he's ordained as a novice. And we're just talking about Buddhism and just came back to the idea of just being present. And I was like, I paused for a moment and just like brought my mind into the present moment. And then I realized that I haven't been present for quite a while, just because of all the busyness that I've been doing. And when I was back in that moment, it was kind of nice. Like this moment, there's like a sense of peace or a sense of freedom, a sense of just being now. There's something refreshing and something beneficial about it. So yes, we come here and we've learnt a lot of things. And I think one of the when you talk about the Buddhist scriptures, it's about like being mindful during the day, but at the same time, just remembering the teachings and just bringing them into light. I just remember, it's sort of like you hear all these teachings, like the two bad bricks, the chicken farmer, the chicken farmer story, not being fault-finding, and all these theories. But how often do you apply them into your daily life? Do you still look at people the same way, with a fault-finding mind? Or at life, do you focus on the two bad bricks? Or do you focus on the goodness? And it's sort of like, like sometimes it's like you learn all these teachings, but they don't really happen for you in life, if you know what I mean. But then it's like you just keep on like practicing, coming back to the meditation, learning the teachings, and then eventually, I think one day, you may look at life. You may start looking at life through the teachings of the Dhamma, not being a person who's so fault-finding, being a person who's more forgiving, a person who has in their hearts, and you'll start to see that will have like a positive effect on your life, and you start to see that, hey, the way I'm looking now is the way I'm looking at things. I'm making changes to the way I see things. So yes, it's sort of like you come here and you listen to the teachings, but the effects, they don't like happen immediately. And in a sense, you just keep them in your mind somewhere. And then eventually one day they'll just arise and just help you out in whatever situation that you're in. It's sort of like, I think, Ajahn Chah would say, when you're listening to a Dhamma talk, is like your brain is like a tape recorder. But you have to be listening. And just let it all go in. And for some reason, it's stored in there somewhere. And then when the time comes, it may come out to help you. Yeah, so these, but just always like a word of encouragement at the end. It's like we don't have much. Like the nice contemplation is like how much time do you have left in your life, or how much time you have left in your day. I think that's one of the nice things about the Buddha's teachings, is that he always reminded the monks that the days and nights are relentlessly passing. It's like, a moment ago, I was 2 years old. Now I'm 42. That just happened so quick. And what am I been doing with my time? Yeah, that's a nice reflection, From time to time, just think about how have I spent my day, and have I used it wisely? And I've seen a lot of like familiar faces here, some newbies, but the ones that have been here before, I'm pretty sure you know what are the important things to do in life. So it's always nice to always contemplate that we don't have that much time. And also, for the new people, it sort of makes you step back and think about how to prioritize your life, to put the important things in front. And there's always, I think, it's like the story that Ajahn tells about the professor who starts shoving rocks into a jar. That's always a nice story. And first of all, there's a jar, and he just like puts like the big rocks in, and then there's like university students, and then he'll ask the university students, "Is the jar full?" And because the jar is full of big rocks, the university students would say, "Yes, the jar is full." So then the professor takes out smaller rocks and then puts that into a jar. And then he shakes the jar up. And then all those small rocks fill into the gap. And then he asks the students, is the jar full? And the student says, yes, the jar is full. But then the professor says, no, the jar is not full. So then the professor takes out like a handful of sand and puts that into the jar. And he shakes the jar. Then all the sand fills those small gaps in the jar. And then he asked the university students, so now is the jar full? But now the university students sort of smartened up and knew what the professor was doing and said, it may look full, but it's probably not full. So the university professor said, yes, it's not full yet. So he took out some water and then he filled in the rest of the gaps with water. And then now the jar is full. And I think and then he asked, what's the point of the story? And then one of the students says, it doesn't matter like how much space you have in a jar, you can always manage to fit more in. And that's the lesson that the students learned from the teacher. But the teacher said, no, that's not the lesson. The lesson is the jar, you only have so much space in the jar and you can only fit so many things in. And what he was trying to say is the jar is representing the time that we have, like during our day or during our life. And there's only a certain amount of things you can put into it. And I think the message that I got from it is that because we only have X amount of time in our day, in our life, what other important things to put in it? It's different for everybody. And that makes you kind of think. It is kind of true in the sense, well, it's like for a monastic, it's like, oh yeah, you got to spend more time meditating and all that kind of stuff. But then you end up like wasting time. I think that's the point that when I was listening to the story by Ajahn Brahm is that as human beings, we kind of waste our time just doing things which, after reflection, you're thinking, oh, I didn't really spend my time that well. So because I think like in context of like the Dhamma practice, when we're looking at the amount of time that we have, then we just think, okay, how can I just make a little bit of time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day, so that I can sit meditation. Just like 10 minutes, and that's all you need. Because our lives are quite busy. It's like just moving one thing and then another thing and then another thing. Just giving ourselves a break. Just a little break, Close your eyes for 2-3 minutes. Just add something new to your life. It can make a difference. Yeah. So that's the reflections I have to offer for today. If there's any questions or anything like that you want to ask. Yeah.
You're talking about present moment awareness as being one of your main focuses.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? When you're sitting there. What does that look like?
It's just like being able to, just be in the moment.
What does that mean?
It's like be here, be now, and then it's just like an effort to be in the moment. You can start off with listening, but it's more of a feeling, like more silence than anything else. There isn't too much chatter in the mind. There's a lack of chatter going on. You may have a few thoughts just floating around, but the mind is quite present. And that's why, like towards the second day of the retreat, I was encouraging more of the breath meditation, because sometimes just having that anchor to put your mind on, like the breath, it just makes the mind. It just makes it easier for the mind to be in the moment. And it's just a simple, subtle object. Yeah. And because it's like, it can be boring for some people, it's just like the breath. But if you add a bit of salt and sugar on it, or maybe salted caramel, it'll be a lot better. So it's what you add onto the breath sometimes. Yeah, that like sense of peace is like, it's like a feeling, you know? You feel peaceful. Yeah? Any more questions? Okay. You can go. So you can come visit us in, what is it? Holy Stone. All the information's on the website. You can like and subscribe. All right. We can pay respects to the Buddha and then we can go. Who are you?
I'm Deanne. Hi. Two things I'd like to say. One is, I heard a saying that said, being angry with somebody and not forgiving them is like drinking poison and then sitting waiting for them to die.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, but it's true. Isn't it? The other thing is, you're talking about meditation and how I'm still finding it difficult to meditate, but this is my second time here. And I found that just not talking, everything was just, I was so much more aware. And this morning I went to the monastery, this gentleman talking to me, and I lost it for a while.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think just the conversation sort of clutters your mind.
Yeah. Are you able to get peaceful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went for a nice long walk.
Yeah. It's just, you have to give it time. Yeah.
I've been trying to meditate for 40 years, but I do a lot of walking, and I think that's my meditation.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of, it's kind of true. A lot of people put a lot of effort into it for many, many years, but they still find it difficult. That's just the reality of it.
Late night. Yeah. Whereas when I'm out in the bush, just one foot in front of the other.
I see.
Thank you so much for the weekend. It was wonderful as always.
Oh, okay, that's good. Thanks.
How is your transport?
Hey, can you take me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. What time are you leaving?
About 2:30.
Yeah. I'll just sit here, see if he wants to have a chat, and then.
Yeah. So Scott is not coming. No.
You live in Gosens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier for you.
Okay. Yep.
No problem. Yeah.
You know, a question from the audience. I was wondering, when you, with the silence, I find sometimes when I'm meditating, when the silence comes, I almost get a little too excited by the silence and I almost grasp for it. And before I know it, it kind of disappears.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice about